So it appears the WNBPA have in fact sent in a counter proposal to the WNBA. And that is big. That is big. Because today it is the 7th of March. And just a heads up, the 10th of March is a soft deadline. It is a soft deadline. It's not a hard deadline. There is a world where it gets to the 10th of March and one side just goes, we have to have a meeting after this. It is, if we get past the 10th of March, and like my guess is that we'll figure out in the next 2 or 3 hours what the WNBPA says. That would be my guess, because Alexa Philippou has not tweeted about this. It has just been Madeline Kenny. Is it Madeline Kenny? Sorry, just need to confirm the name. I think it's Madeline Kenny. Yeah, Madeline Kenny, and then Annie Costable has reposted it. So it has been confirmed that it's happened. The only difference is that obviously there's a big difference between it happening and it being like something that might be accepted. So my expectation is that we're going to see a 25% gross, which I think it was like I very rarely watch content surrounding the WNBA. Like I think anyone who knows me and who knows that, like I very rarely watch any of it. And it's just this, because there's not a lot going on, the CBA content is very much like all that's happening. So a lot of the quote unquote old WNBA channels aren't really talking about the individual things. So I'm like looking through everything, and I think it was a point made. I think it was Ben Daniel that might have made the point, and he said basically he implied that going down by 1% is stalling. Like if you're giving proposals back and you're dropping by 1%, when the league has called the previous one unrealistic and we'll lose $700 million if we accepted it, then going down by 1% is a form of stalling. Like, at the end of the day, the best that you can do as a league is have minimal losses. So, like, if you are the league, the best thing you can probably negotiate for is something where the losses are minimal, so that but because of the growth and the potential growth in revenue long term, you can justify minimal losses. What you can't do is justify eating greater yearly losses than has happened all but the last 2 years. And I understand. Like, that TV money is basically just charter flights. That TV money split between everybody, and then when the takes their cut, when the people own 58% take their cut, it covers the charter flights. It covers the charter flights. That's literally what it does. It covers the charter flights. So it's not like it's the like be all and end all. It is one of those things where like the TV revenue does not suddenly make the league profitable because of how high the expenses are in the league right now. The expenses are high. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Like, the expenses currently in the WNBA are high, and I don't think a lot of players don't realize just how high in a lot of situations that these expenses are. That being said, the league is in a much better position than it has been to negotiate something good. I think if the league comes back, there is a gross revenue percentage. I think the reality is that I think if the players want a gross revenue percentage, they're going to have to go down to like 17. And I think that might get accepted. And that is a might. Like, that is the crazy thing, is like, there is a no guarantee a 17% gross revenue percentage gets accepted. But like, that is kind of how low you're going to have to go for a gross revenue percentage to even be entertained really by the league. Because if you get a gross, like, let's just say hypothetically again, a net revenue percentage of, if by their random numbers they pick off the top of the head, which is where they're getting the gross revenue, the 70% gross rev, or net rev equals 15% gross rev. If there's any sort of a net rev that's equivalent for them of 20, I don't know if there is. I'm just trying to think what the percentage is that. I think it's 90, isn't it? So if they're getting 14% by 0.2 by 0.2 by 0.7. No, it'd actually be 100%. It'd be 100% to get the 20 according to them. So what am I talking about? Sorry. Yeah, according to their math, it is 20%. because that is the break-even point. It would mean 100% the net revenue, which is basically they make any profit. So, yeah, at the end of the day, let's just say hypothetically they make 80% the net revenue, and that's the equivalent of 17% gross. They're more likely to accept the higher net revenue percentage, even though that is actually a much better deal for the players. But at the same time, the players are so adamant on the gross revenue number that if the league are conceding gross revenue, one of two things is going to happen. They're going to take away either charter flights or housing, because the housing is going to be a large chunk. And that's one of those things where it's like, I don't think people realize is that if the league the league can literally give anything to the players they want, but it's all getting eaten out of gross revenue, or it all gets eaten out of net revenue. And that's that is the big difference, is that the players want the league to cover all the expenses, take all the risk, and guarantee the money, even if they're making a huge loss. Whereas the league are willing to risk losing out majorly on the profits, but everyone's like, oh, the league are going to they're going to cook the books. And it's like, well, it's not cooking the books. All the stuff that the players are asking for is eating into their revenue, which is what happens in net. So at the end of the day, it's going to be a situation where if the players either get the gross revenue percentage they want, but the league will take away housing and charters, or you can get both. That is, for me, I think that's the most likely scenario, because I think if the league, if the players conceded on charters and housing, then you could probably get 23% gross. Heck, you get 25% gross, just because of the cost of charters. But they're not going to give up on charters. So that's where the issue is, where it's like, there are a lot of things in the CBA, and then they're like, oh, the league are giving us stuff we're not even asking for in Sophie Cunningham. I'm like, well, yeah, but all of that eats into the league's revenue. They're giving you everything, because they're like, basically, look, we don't want to budge on this one thing, so therefore we will budge on everything else. We will give you everything else. We don't want to budge on this. But as of right now, the players are not budging on anything. Like, the players haven't compromised on anything. They're like, oh, we just keep lowering by 1%, 1%. That's not a compromise. The league have compromised on housing. The league, and by the way, this is all easy for the league to compromise on, because their plan is a net revenue model and a net revenue share model. But the league's big compromise was the uncapped. Was it no matter how much revenue they make, they still get their money. But the thing is with all the other things, is that all those other things eat into the net revenue. So it means, obviously, all the net revenue is the operating cost, is the revenue minus operating costs, and all the other things the players ask for are hiring the operating costs. So it's not really the risk on the league. But like, there is a situation where what the players should be looking for is, I think the players should be looking, like, I think if the players accepted the net rev, they could get a much higher salary cap, and yeah, maybe they would make less from licensing, but it is a poor thing, but it's like, they're not going to get everything all at once. I think everyone's kind of accepted that, but it's going to be really interesting to see what happens when this eventually comes out. We will see the odds of this being accepted. Oh, I thought there was an Alexa Philippou bomb. She just tweeted about Duke in the ACC tournament. But so nobody really knows what's happening right now. That being said, it's still in a situation where the players have responded, which is better, which is good for everybody. And we will see if they are stalling or not. So yeah, that is pretty much it. I have a video later on today talking about Kelsey Plum, and I'll rewatch it to see if it's relevant, but it may not be. So anyway, now they've put some out, because I do talk about stalling a lot. But anyway, I'll see you guys.